Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're back online now. It's interesting that I have to switch between the internet channels in our home to one of the channels for some reason has been acting up lately. I don't quite understand what's going on, but maybe our modem is going kaput. But we have two wireless channels in the house, and actually we have three. We have a visitors channel, but the two channels I'm having to switch between them now once in a while to get this to you, so to get the live streaming going. So anyway, here we go, back into the story. Monday's deadly attack occurred as the women traveled with their children to visit relatives. The spread out community traces its origins to the end of polygamy more than a century ago by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, forcing Mormon families in the U.S. with multiple wives to establish offshoots elsewhere. And what happened there was, I said last week that when I lived in Utah, I learned that Utah could not become a state until the Mormon Church outlawed polygamy, and the state outlawed polygamy. So what that did was force a lot of people to leave the state, and evidently some of them did go to Mexico. So the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints forcing Mormon families in the U.S. with multiple wives to establish offshoots elsewhere. And Bruce Langford, whose mother was one of the women killed, told the Daily Star Saturday that he was on his way to visit his brother in a hospital in Tucson. Langford's mother, Donna Ray Langford, 43, was killed along with two of her sons, ages 11 and 2. She is survived by 11 children, and her husband, Bryce Langford, told the newspaper. Of the children who escaped, one was shot in the face, another in the foot. One girl suffered a gunshot wound to her back and foot. Another of Langford's brothers had 6 children in brush and walked away to Lamora to get help. We're proud of him, Langford told the newspaper. And I think that was the 14-year-old that got interviewed on some programs. To be able to make those kind of decisions under those circumstances is something not a lot of people can say they can do. A girl who was initially listed as missing walked off in another direction despite her gunshot wounds to help. Langford said the community has learned more about cartel hitmen in the area in recent months, and people have been considering moving. After Monday's ambush, they decided it was something they had to do for their own safety, he told the Daily Star. Now, I'm sure that, if these people wanted to defend themselves, I'm sure the Mexican government frowns on them owning any guns, which is a kind of a weird twist to this whole thing, and I got more to that story later on. Having to move so suddenly feels like something he's seen in the movies, but he never thought would happen to his family, Langford said. Most of the families are traveling to Phoenix, others heading to Tucson. They are not sure where they will settle down in the long term, Langford said. Leah Langford Staden told the Associated Press that her mother and another sister, Amy, came to Arizona with as many belongings as they could pack into their vehicles. Langford Staden said those leaving plan to scatter among their different relatives for now, but they would love to eventually settle together in a new place. They spent the whole day yesterday packing. It was frantic, she said by phone from Tucson, where she is standing watch at a hospital that is treating 5 children wounded in the attack. Those who left made a quick decision to leave behind their property, Langford Staden said. When it comes down to it, it's just things that can't be replaced, she said. The population of Lamora had dwindled in recent years, with some keeping homes but only visiting a few times a year, Langford Staden said. But Bruce Langford, who was raised in Lamora but now lives in North Dakota, said it wasn't easy for his relatives to leave behind the land they have called home for more than 50 years. The assets they've acquired down there are tremendous, he said. And to have to up and leave from one day to the next and leave all that behind, there's definitely a lot of sad people there. So that's kind of the aftermath of the massacre that occurred on Monday, the 9/8/765, the 5th of November, I think it was. And the 9th was Friday, or the 9th was Saturday, so that would be the 4th of November. occurred on the 4th of November. And we wish them all well. It's a terrible thing to have a whole family and young children murdered, but these Mexican cartels are capable of anything. So, blink an eye, could care less about human life. Never have. So, the only thing they care about is making money, selling people and drugs. So, anyway, we're going to move on to the second part of this story. And I'm going to take this little gem off the screen here. And I have to go to I'm going to try to play a video for you. Well, actually, it's another story from KGON 9 about where the FBI is joining the investigation into the attack that killed 9 Mormon family members in Mexico. We were asked by the Mexican government to help them, and there's kind of an interesting little tidbit in that story, and I'll read this to you now. It says, the FBI is taking part in the investigation into an attack that left 9 people dead last week in Mexico near the U.S. border. 3 women and 6 children, all of the Mormon faith, were shot dead in the mountains on November 4th when suspected drug cartels opened fire on a remote dirt road in Sonora State. The victims were dual citizens of Mexico and the United States. The FBI will be providing assistance at the invitation of the Mexican government with the investigation into the recent attack against American citizens, the FBI said in the statement. Now remember, the FBI now is run by Christopher Wray, who, I don't know, we're not very happy with him, but it says the FBI remains committed to working alongside our international partners to help bring justice to the perpetrators of this heinous act of violence. Mexico's foreign ministry sent an invitation to the FBI to assist in the investigation. In a statement Sunday, Mexico reiterated its commitment to investigate the facts to ensure justice to the affected families. The horrific massacre in broad daylight stunned even a country long ravaged by drug violence and on pace for a record high number of homicides this year. I think they're up around 25,000, 30,000 now. I'm just, I've seen those numbers. I don't have anything to quote in front of me, but I know it's up in well over 20,000, between 20 and 30,000. The horrific massacre in broad daylight stunned even a country long ravaged. The convoy carrying women and children was ambushed and sprayed with hundreds of rounds of ammunition. One mother was gunned down as she begged the children to be spared. The government quickly suggested the attack was a case of mistaken identity as a result of conflict between rival drug trafficking groups in a virtually lawless region near the border. We still don't have all the officers needed, President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, who took office in December, admitted this week. There are municipalities where we don't have police. Everything related to public safety was completely abandoned. We're working on that. Mexican officials said the massacre could be linked to a shooting one day earlier in the town of Agua Prieta across the border from Douglas, Arizona. The corridor is a hub for moving drugs into the U.S. A criminal group known as Los Salazar from Sonora State exchanged fire with members of La Linea, the Chihuahua-based enforcement arm of the Juarez Cartel. La Linea later dispatched an armed group to prevent their rivals from entering Chihuahua, said General Homero Mendoza, Mexico's chief of staff for national defense. Those gunmen might have mistaken the family's vehicles for the SUVs of the rivals. At the state level, Chihuahua Attorney General Cesar Peniche Espayel offered another theory. A drug trafficking group known as Los Jaguars, an offshoot of the Sinaloa cartel, could have been behind the massacre. Kendra Lee Miller, who lost her sister-in-law in the attack, said cartels have taken too many of our family members. She said cartels had recently threatened her family over where the family can travel. So I think that's about the end of that story. Yeah, that's everything I got. One of the things I read into one of these stories of the FBI is the FBI folks are not allowed to be armed. They are not armed while they're down in Mexico, which to me is outrageous. They're investigating the murder of Americans on Mexican soil by violent drug cartels. And you're trying to tell me that our FBI shouldn't be armed down there? Now, Christopher Wray needs to have his head examined. Any FBI agent ought to be able to carry his weapon for defense anywhere he goes. And an FBI agent that would go down there without a weapon is not thinking straight either. So we had some other federal agents murdered down there about the same time that our Border Patrol agent was killed down by Rio Rico. So, these people just don't care, and you've got to be able to defend yourself. So, the FBI got invited to investigate. They're down there investigating, helping with the investigation. But I would really like to see our American citizens armed during that investigation. And so you might let our friends up in Washington, D.C. know about that. Let the president know. Let our congressman know. Let's let our 4 Republicans from Arizona know about that, because that's just unacceptable. So I think we're going to have to rethink some of these things we're doing. These Mexican cartels are bloodthirsty people, and to go down there and investigate and maybe have to come face to face with some of them, who knows, or have them come after you. There's no way I'd go down there if I were an FBI agent without a weapon on my side, or more than one weapon, as a matter of fact. So take that for what it's worth. That's all the latest information we have on that situation. We wish those people well. We hope the kids are healing up in the hospital here in Tucson. We're not sure which hospital they're in. I don't think they released that information. And although the press seems to hang outside the hospital to grab people as they're going in and out, so maybe it's not as big a secret as we think. So anyway, I'm going to it's about 5:24. I'm going to take a few minutes break. It looks like the internet's running good now before we get into this talking about well, I don't like using that word, so I'm going to talk about the inquiry, the Democrat inquiry today. The total farce, they were actually humiliated from my perspective. And I listened to a little bit of Rush Limbaugh. Patty and I listened to Rush Limbaugh, and I don't think he was very impressed with what went on today. The Democrats are truly lost their minds, and Rush said that he's gotten a word from somewhere. I don't remember who he quoted, but they think that Pelosi's going to pull the plug on this by the end of the week. So we'll see. Anyway, I'll bring you some information about that. I'm going to use my phone to take some things off Twitter, and there's a long list of things that the Tea Party Patriots wants us to be doing right now, and I've sent those emails out in the Google group. They're coming hot and heavy. There's actually a national phone call tonight into the war room at 8 o'clock Eastern time to discuss some of this stuff. So that'll be interesting to listen to. I'm glad to see they're so organized, and the Tea Party Patriots, we're really proud of them for being right in the middle of it and helping defend President Trump against, there hasn't been any crime committed by anybody, and other than a Democrat. And the 2 witnesses today, like I said when I started out the broadcast, they were not in the room during the conversation. The only thing they commented on was their opinion of what they heard secondhand. So, it's pretty amazing that they're given any credibility at all. It's hard to go in as a witness. And one of them said he didn't think he was there to talk about impeachment. And Rush said, "Well, why do you think Adam Schiff invited you?" He thinks that's all this is about. So, I just don't get it sometimes, and I don't think they get it either. So these two ambassadors were not very impressive. And the other thing I want to comment on, ambassadors work at the pleasure of the president. The president of the United States is their direct boss. They are the representative of the president in the country they are assigned to when he's back in the United States. So they carry out his policies. If they don't like his policies, they can quit or they can resign, okay? And if they do something to violate that trust, if they're not carrying out his policies, they should be fired. Get rid of them, get somebody else. Elections have consequences. Sorry, Democrats, but they do. And they used to throw that in our face all the time in the 8 years that Obama was elected, right? Oh, elections have consequences. Yeah, well, we know they do, and the consequences right now are you lost, and we won, and President Trump is the president. So, hey, let's get going here. We got a lot of stuff to do in this country, and you guys are, you're lollygagging. And you're not doing your job. You're being paid money to do a job for the country, and you're not doing it. So anyway, I'll stop pontificating again, and I'm going to take a short break, and I'll be back, and we'll talk more about this. So you all take care. We'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, hi everybody. We're back on now, and we're going to talk about the what was going on today at up in D.C. Now I got a message for you from one of the staff of Jenny Beth Martin, and she says from the Trump defense team, Jenny Beth Martin will be on Fox and Friends first tomorrow morning, Thursday, November 14th, to discuss the impeachment witch hunt. The show runs from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. Eastern, which is 2 a.m. to 4 p.m. I'm sorry, 4 a.m. 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. Arizona time, which is pretty early, and so anyway, but the exact time is always hard to pin down, so please try to tune in at the start of the program if you are able. Again, that's Jenny Beth Martin is going to be on Fox and Friends first day, Thursday, November 14th, and the time is 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. Eastern time, which is 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. So that's one message we got today. Now we've got, excuse me, a couple others here. From the Trump defense team, there are some things I want you to know, and I sent this out in an email today. They're calling on the rapid responders. So if you have a Twitter account, you need to be following the following folks. And they are Representative Mark Meadows, who is at Rep Mark Meadows, Representative Jim Jordan, who is at Jim_Jordan, the GOP House Oversight Committee, which is at GOP small letter oversight, the House Freedom Caucus, which is being led by Andy Biggs now, which is at Capital Freedom Capital Caucus, John Ratcliffe, who is at Representative Ratcliffe, R-A-T-C-L-I-F-F-E, Devin Nunes, who at one time, he was chairman of the committee before the 2018 election, and then Shifty Schiff took over. So Devin is the ranking member of the minority party in this committee. And Devin Nunes was terrific today, by the way. That's at Devin Nunes, capital D, capital N. And then Lee Zeldin, who's a representative from New York. That's at Lee, capital L, Zeldin with a Z, Z-E-L-D-I-N. And then Andy Biggs is at Rep Andy Biggs, A-Z. And all of those people you need to follow because they're putting out constant tweets about the proceedings today, what they said, videos, etc. A lot of good information. I'll look at some of those tweets here in a minute. And the hashtags, if you're familiar and you use Twitter, you know that you can put a hashtag on any one of your messages, which means that someone can go look at a specific hashtag and read all the comments under that of anybody that's talked about it. So the two hashtags today are hashtag no, capital N, evidence, capital E, no evidence, and hashtag Dem got nothing, capital D, Dem, got, capital G, nothing, capital N. Dem got nothing. And Dems got nothing. It should be Dems got nothing. Capital D, capital D, E-M-S, capital G-O-T, got, capital N, nothing. Dems got nothing. Okay? Hashtag Dems got nothing. So we've been sending those out all day under the SACPAC Twitter account, so which is on the main page here, or was. Don't see it now, but we'll get that fixed. It's at SACPAC1. It's the actual Twitter account. So, and what else we got going on here? Other points you can make. It was a perfect call, talking about the president's call with the Ukraine president. Did nothing wrong, unelected bureaucrats. America's first foreign policy, no taxpayer dollars with any corruption. The key points to make today in radio, print, and TV interviews, as well as social media, is no evidence and the Democrats have nothing. or they got nothing. Please use these two hashtags, no evidence and Dems got nothing, with all your tweets about the hearings. Again, the overarching points for today. They felt that the morning point, the Dems were trying to make a point this morning that the Democrats seem to be moving in the direction of breach of public trust as the main argument. Recommended arguing back, where was Adam when Barack Obama's IRS breached the public trust by preventing the First Amendment rights of Obama's political opponents? Where was Adam Schiff when Benghazi went down? Where was Adam Schiff when Hillary Clinton was breaching the public trust by acid bleaching and destroying evidence in the case against her being investigated by the FBI? Clear breaches of public trust, but you never heard a peep from them. So, and it's very true. So I'm going to get away from that email now. Let's see if we can bring up and talk about some of these tweets that I've seen today. I'm looking at my Apple phone right now, so bear with me, folks. Now I'm going to look at Twitter. And what do we got the latest on Twitter here? It's coming up here. This is interesting. This is one of the things that was brought out, and Jim Jordan called Adam Schiff on this. He said, Schiff said, if the Republicans say the name of the whistleblower, they will face an ethics complaint. But Schiff said he doesn't know who the whistleblower is, so how can he punish them if they say his name? That's a good point. But anyway, he said today that he didn't know who the whistleblower was, and yet he and his staff interviewed this secondhand info guy, and he's not a whistleblower, folks. This man is not a whistleblower. Rush is exactly right, Rush Limbaugh. He says he's a spy. He really is. He was an Obama spy, and somehow he stayed on the National Security Council, National Security staff, and then he got he got kicked out of the White House for leaking to the press, and then picked up by the CIA, believe it or not, and everybody knows who he is, and they've been hiding on Fox, they were told, all the announcers on Fox, all the hosts, that don't use his name, you can't use it, and some guest on Sunday dumped it out there. They all went into shock. So anyway, I've seen his name a few times. I'm not worthy of talking about him because he's not a whistleblower. He's a spy, okay? A second person that hears things secondhand that wasn't actually at the phone call is not a whistleblower. You have to be there, okay, to experience whatever went on. So I'm going to go on here and look at some of these tweets about the hearing. Let's see if I can find. I've got some of these people in my library here, and I'm going to look at the latest tweets from. Something happened here. Let's see. Okay, I'm pulling up Andy Biggs, and his latest tweets is, from the individuals who brought you the Russian collusion hoax comes the sequel, the Ukrainian hoax. Democrats will stop at no hoax to impeach their political rival, real Donald Trump, which is true. Here's a Mark Meadows tweet, very similarly to Mueller. It's interesting that Democrat victory laps mostly stopped after the uninterrupted opening statement of witnesses. There's a reason why. It's because when you actually scrutinize these Democrat allegations against real Donald Trump, they fall apart. So Andy Biggs, again, he says, he tweets, but wait, there's more closed-door Soviet-style hearings this weekend. Chairman Schiff and his Democrat colleagues really aren't in favor of an open, honest, and fair process, are they? So, yeah, they're going back underground again. So Ted Budd, Representative Ted Budd, I'm not sure what state he's from, but Andy Biggs retweeted him. He said, after all the hype, the Democrat star witness had no firsthand knowledge and never spoke to President Trump. There's just no evidence that justifies impeaching a duly elected president. which is a very good point. Again, we ain't calling it an impeachment because that's not what this is. A coup. The Democrats still hate what happened in the election, and they can't believe that Hillary got beat. And this really is a coup. I mean, there's a lot of people that are going to go down for this stuff, and we're all waiting for that to happen. So Representative Bradley Burns says, Democrats made a spectacle about holding their first public hearing today. The truth is that today's hearing is little more than a public showcasing of witnesses they've already interrogated and vetted in their secret room to ensure they will say only what the Democrats desire. And they didn't say anything. There was nothing new. There was no evidence. It was secondhand information, so who cares? Here's Representative Ralph Abraham. Neither of today's witnesses were on the call. Their testimony is based on hearsay and what they read in the New York Times. No evidence of pressure to investigate the Ukrainian president confirms. He never knew of any hold on aid, would much less investigated anyone because of it. Representative Ross Spano, on the impeachment inquiry, the whole process has been frustrating. A great deal of it has been shut off, closed door, and with purposeful leaks from the Democrats. I'd love to hear from the whistleblower and get some witnesses that aren't just pushing forward the Dems' narrative. That's what they want. They're just trying to influence. They're trying to influence public opinion a little bit and try to find the one or two rhinos that might believe what's going on. U.S. Representative Billy Long says hearsay is generally inadmissible in a court of law. Shouldn't similar standards exist in this inquiry? This inquiry has become an absolute circus. Steve Scalise tweeted, "What I can do here for you today is tell you what I heard from people. The Dem star witness just said he had no first-hand knowledge and is relying on hearsay for his testimony today. So why are we still here? Time to end this pointless charade." Exactly right. And then Representative Warren Davison made a comment, saw his tweet. Representative Mark Walker, this is why Adam Schiff and House Democrats did not want an open process. Just we proved it today why they didn't want one. Congressman Dan Muser says the impeachment hearings are continuing despite the following. This is a highly biased process. The leading Democrat players have predetermined presumptions of guilt and have been untruthful about contact with their whistleblower, and there has been no evidence of quid pro quo. So that's a fact. So Representative Mark Green, is this Schiff show, he calls it the hashtag Schiff show, is going on. Let's take another look at the facts. No transcript, no pressure, no quid pro quo. Zelensky, no pressure, no quid pro quo. Ukrainian government, no knowledge, delayed. Ukrainian government did nothing for the aid. Okay? Yeah, he's got a nice chart made up for that. So, Representative Scott Perry says, as a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, I've attended nearly all of the closed-door hearings in the SCIF. The American people clearly see what I saw all along. The accusations levied against the president are baseless. Kevin McCarthy. Remember Speaker Pelosi's own standard for moving forward with impeachment. Number one, it must be overwhelming. Number two, it must be compelling. 3, it must be bipartisan. Today shows the Democrats have failed all 3 tests. This impeachment sham must stop here. And it goes on and on. Let me see if I can find some other quotes by found Andy Biggs. Let's see if I can dig up. I'm going to look at Jim Jordan because Jim Jordan was right in the middle of it today. He just does a fabulous job. He says, Mr. Kent affirmed Ukraine has a long-standing history of corruption, and President Trump was deeply skeptical of this corruption. The president has a duty to Americans to make sure their taxpayer dollars are being spent responsibly. And then this Jim Jordan sent from the Republican Oversight Committee. It says, watch, Democrats ask star witness about alleged quid pro quo. This is Ambassador Taylor. Star witness admits he has no first-hand knowledge of the issue. Another flop from the Dems. So that kind of gives you the flavor of what's going on. Let's see, Representative Jim Jordan. I know that he pointed out a timeline to Ambassador Taylor, and also something that he said in his sworn statement that he probably regretted saying. Representative Jim Jordan tweeted, aid was delayed by just 55 days. During that time, we verified that President Zelensky was the real deal. So, let me see here. I'll see if Mark Meadows has got anything else. Some of these Twitter accounts are obvious and some of them are not. Okay, so it's at Rep Mark Meadows, and again he says, oh, this is a tweet from Lee Zeldin that Mark Meadows retweeted. It says Hunter Biden had no energy experience and no Ukraine experience, but was hired for at least $50,000 per month by a corrupt Ukraine gas company run by a corrupt Ukrainian oligarch solely because he was Joe Biden's son. If that whole setup wasn't illegal, then it should be. Well, it was illegal, so we're gonna get to the bottom of that someday. And then here's the one I was telling you about. This is a tweet from Steve Scalise that Mark Meadows retweeted. Direct quote from the Dems public show hearing. Hearsay can be much better evidence than direct. In what universe is hearsay better than direct evidence? Nancy Pelosi's House of Representatives, apparently. This hearing is a total sham. And the guy name was like Representative Quigley, Mike Quigley. He's a Democrat from Illinois, and he thought hearsay evidence is better than direct evidence. So, like I said before, if you're stuck on stupid and you don't understand the real evidence, I guess hearsay would be better evidence. But most people, that's not the case, right? When you go into a court of law, you're serving on a jury. They don't even bring up hearsay evidence because it's inadmissible, right? It doesn't hold enough water to even bring into court. So they're really exposing themselves with this stuff, and I think it's really important that we, all of us, help them get this information out on social media, Twitter, etc., because it does have an impact. Now, like I said earlier, there's a 8 o'clock national call that we're going to call in tonight, and it's where they're going to talk about 15 minutes for the strategy for tomorrow. And I don't know if there's any hearings. I thought they were going to have this inquiry on today and on Friday, so I'm not sure. But usually these representatives, they like to run home on Friday. They all run for the airport, so maybe they won't do anything on Friday. I don't know. And the Democrats, are they really going to hang around in D.C. and for the weekend and go into their little secret room or shenanigans? Who knows? But like the guy said, like Rush talked about, maybe Pelosi will actually call it off. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? We all know it's a sham. 63 million people that voted for President Trump aren't going to change their minds about him. We're still going to vote for him. He's still going to be the president and re-elected in 2020. We know that. So, they're really they're digging a hole, and I always heard that if someone's digging a hole, let them keep digging. Anyway, I hope that you guys are taking part on Twitter and some other social media, and you're getting some of this stuff out and reading some of the emails we're sending out, and gathering that information and signing up for Jenny Beth's new Google group, where she sends out a lot of information now. And we sent her request to join their group of conservative in the Trump War Room. They got over 100 groups now and people that are supporting this, and you can become one of those if you register with them if you want to. We sent that to all our state representatives and senators. We sent it to a lot of local leaders, county supervisors we know, and other folks. So boy, I hope they're all participating, and I hope this is it's good. I mean, it's good that they all involved and talk about it, because this is a sham. This is a coup. The Democrats should be ashamed, but they're not. They'll never be ashamed. They don't listen to facts or reason because they're out of their minds. So some woman went into a grocery store today with her Trump hat on. She went to the store, and some lady says, well, how do you like supporting a criminal? And she said, no, I elected President Trump. I didn't vote for Obama. So that was a pretty good response on the spot. So that's a good one to remember. President Trump isn't a criminal. He can take some hard lines sometime, and he's pretty tough on people, but he's not a criminal. Never has broken any laws, and he's a good businessman, tough negotiator, and so we're looking forward to the day when he gets China to sign on the bottom line, and if Nancy Pelosi and her folks would just wake up and pass USMCA, we'd all be better off. Pardon me. We need to get that passed. Help this economy, help it keep growing. It's going great guns. We're heading for a Dow of 28,000, and one guy's predicting it'll be at 30,000 by January. So wouldn't that be nice? I know there's a lot of seniors that probably have 401ks, at least I hope you do, and you may not have anything invested in the stock market now, but maybe you do, and so it's good to see it grow. So that's about all I have for tonight. I want you all to take care, be safe. There is a Trump rally tomorrow night, so don't forget, the Trump rally tomorrow night from Louisiana. It'll probably be 7 o'clock Louisiana time would be, that would be 6 o'clock our time. So I think 6 o'clock Mountain Standard Time would be about the time. You can watch the entire rally if you go on your computer or on your phone to on YouTube. Look for Right Side, RIGHT Side, SIDE. They broadcast every Trump rally from beginning to end. In fact, they do a little bit more. They even catch the crowd beforehand. So it's the Right Side Network. And again, subscribe to the channel. Click on the little bell to get reminders of when we're going live. We apologize for the interruption again tonight. It's got something to do with Cox, but I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe we need to get a new modem. I wanted to show you guys this little. Let's see if I can get it up here. This is what we're all working for, folks. Right here. See that? Yeah, that's it. Trump 2020, go for it. And again, I want to recognize our veterans. Thank you all for serving. I join you and praise you. And I know probably a lot of you guys and gals were veterans, and thank you for your service. It's an honor to serve our country, and we had that honor. So God bless you all. Thanks for watching tonight, and we'll see if we can get a guest next week to talk to. But you know, there's a lot going on. There's always something to talk about. So I hope you all be safe, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.